Want to hear my theory? Here's my theory. Okay, before I can tell you my theory though, I have to tell you something that the way the Americans in the United States think that the rest of the world doesn't. If you live in the United States, when you think of someone who's Mexican, you never refer to their nationality. You don't care about their nationality. You're talking about their ethnic mix. And the ethnic mix of a Mexican, when we think about Mexican people, we're thinking of someone who is around half Native American via modern day Mexico, which would be Mayan, Aztec, something like that. And then we'd think that the other half would be something European, predictably Spanish. So Native American via Mexico, like Mayan and Aztec, and then Spanish or European, you know. And I understand that Spain is part of Europe, but I mean specifically Spain, maybe Italian, maybe, you know, French, whatever else you want to put in there, but specifically Spanish, and specifically Native American like Mayan, Aztec. Okay, those two things come together. There you go. That's the ethnic background of most Mexican people. Notice I use the word most there, not all. And again, I don't care about nationality. I don't care that someone is a fifth generation Chinese family living in Mexico. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about A.C. Slater, Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell, if you need to Google that while watching this video. That look, that ethnic background. When people in the United States think of a Mexican person, whether they were born in Mexico or whether they're Mexican American, either way, we're talking about that ethnic mix. Okay? Now, here's my theory. What if we tried to create a scenario in which we found someone who had similar enough ethnic background that we could basically produce someone who would look just like someone that people in the United States deem as a Mexican looking person? Okay, here's my theory. So instead of the person being in modern day Mexico, Native American like Mayan or Aztec, let's just move it up north. Let's move it to the United States, Cherokee Indian. That's, you know, Native American Cherokee tribe. We all can have a vision of what Cherokee Indian looks like, right? Okay, let's say that was one parent, and the other parent, instead of coming from Spain, came from Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, because in reality, can we really ethnically separate people from Portugal and people from Spain? Isn't it the same basic ethnic background and group, right? So if you got someone who was 100% Portuguese, for as long as history would show, every person in that family tree was in Portugal. Then that person came from Portugal, came to the United States, met someone who was 100% Cherokee Indian, okay? And I know this is all theoretical, but let's say that happened. Those two people marry, those people have a child. That child, in theory, is going to look indistinguishable from Mexican people. That child whose one parent is Portuguese and the other is Cherokee Indian, Native American, they could go down to Mexico and blend in just fine. They would look like everybody else, specifically. So it's an alternate way to create the look of someone who is ethnically Mexican, as my maternal grandmother was. Even though I would argue she didn't really have that typical look because she was largely the Native American side. So what do you think about that theory? It's all theoretical, and I could easily be wrong, but I think I'm on to something, just at least for a fun little curious thought. Can you ultimately create the look of a Mexican person, ethnically, not nationally, ethnically, by having one parent who's 100%, let's say, Cherokee Native American, a Native American tribe in the United States is what I'm getting at, because ultimately they're related to the Native Americans as you went further down in America. That's my point. Even though they weren't exactly the same, they were the same ethnic background in general. And then we could say the same thing with Portuguese and Spanish people in Europe. Okay? So, do you think that ultimately that would pretty much be largely the same DNA to produce someone who looked Mexican? Keep it in mind that Mexican, I'm not talking about nationality, I'm talking about the ethnic mix, like Mario Lopez, who played Saved by the Bell. Your thoughts, right there.